Evening. Well, we're getting closer now, up to the 3-year anniversary in about another 6 months for Theo Hayez. Hi, good evening, good morning. My name is Mr. Hominoid. A lot of people have been still writing me messages why Theo went in the water. How did he fall off the cliff? Did somebody take him? I've seen a lot of YouTube stories from people in England and other countries are trying to do a story on Theo over here in Australia, and quite honestly, because they are not here. Let's say, for example, there's a guy in Britain, and honestly, I could see what he was trying to say, but he was talking through his backside. Sorry, because he's not here. How can you comment on somebody and some place halfway around the world if you've never been there? I lived in Byron Bay. I've been to Byron Bay. I drove a taxi in Byron Bay. I was homeless in Byron Bay, living in a mobile home. Right? So who else? If you get lost in the Amazon, who do you ask? You ask the local native tribes people. If you get lost in New Mexico desert, who do you ask? You ask the local Indians, the local trackers. If you get lost in the outback of Australia, like in 1944, when the American pilots crashed in northern Queensland, Northern Territory, from a mission over Fiji bombing the Japanese, they were found by Aboriginal trackers to save their lives. You ask the locals. You don't sit in another country and run comments about another place that you've never been to and they know nothing about. Okay, so we've got that one there established. In other words, you overseas YouTubers and media reporters and all the others that make all these comments about Theo, please, shut the F up. Right? You don't know what you're talking about. You get the facts half right, then you twist it, then you try to make it sound good because you want to get subscribers and you want to get paid. I have not got 1,000 subscribers. I do not. I've got just over 600, but I don't care about that. But I do get thousands of views, but people don't subscribe to me all the time. I don't care about that. I'm not in here doing the Theo story for the sake of YouTube credits or making money. I'm doing it to find and solve a mystery about Theo. And the other thing I do have in my advantage is that I actually talk to the people involved. Now here is my personal phone, and I'm going to show you a name and a number. Ken Gamble. He's a private investigator. He's the guy that was up there on 60 Minutes. Ken Gamble, right? Now here's Theo. He's in the bottle shop. Now, a lot of people don't even know which bottle shop he was in. They think he was in a bottle shop at the Cheeky Monkey. No, he wasn't. That bottle shop is down the road. It's several hundred metres away. So people there got it wrong. And then police suspect full-scale physical search for backpacker. Well, look, you've got Theo standing on a railway line. That is not Byron Bay. You know why I know that's not Byron Bay? I'll show you. Because Byron Bay is on the Murwillumbah railway line, and I done a story on it. Moomba railway line was closed down in 2004. So how could Theo be standing on a closed down railway line? Watch while you watch. How many different people have done stories on this with shiny rails? And that's outback Australia. See, the rails are shiny. If that railway line was closed down in 2004, wouldn't they be rusty by 2019? They're steel. See, misleading representation of the media. By looking at that, you think that's a Byron Bay because you're from somewhere else around the world. And now I'll show you something else. Then I watched the story, and I made the story. Mr. Hominoid, Theo Hayez repeated by a naked woman swimming in Venice Beach. And she got washed out in a current. And she got found by fishermen. Right? Right. Now there's me there, but like me, 11 months ago, when I first started to work out what happened to Theo. Yeah, there's the wardrobe there. There's the computer over there. Right. So, 11 months ago that was. 48 views. I don't care about that. But the point is, I feel for the father and I feel for the mother. Now, this is something here I'm going to play for you. Now, I want you to watch this. This is my own video. Go down and have a look at it. Bondi Beach backpackers rep Theo Hayez possible example. Right? Let's have a look. This is after the walk back from the beach. I call this the after shot, the after walk. You watch the video clip of me walking right down the headland. Right. So if I'm puffing and panting and I'm out of breath, I'm walking back there from the beach. Look at my eyes. I'm out of breath. How did somebody carry Theo from up here all the way down here back here into the car park? On sand. If I'm puffing and panting, how would you carry an 18-year-old over your shoulder all that distance? It doesn't make any sort of sense. Now, this is the point here that I was talking about in my previous video about Theo. Sorry, clicked a button. I'll just hit it. Right, now it doesn't matter about what time, but just how deep, right? Check this out. High tide, low tide, high tide, right? So, in a sec, here we go. Brunswick Heads. Brunswick Heads is just up the road from Byron Bay, right? So that's high tide, low tide, high tide. See? So it's still there, so it's 5:52 to 11:48, so it's 6 hours to go out and 6 hours to come in. So it's a metre deep, approximately. So it's roughly a yard deep, right? Just under a metre deep, and there's no moon. There's no moon. Right, now let's see what the moon is. Right, well this is not the moon. This is the tidal charts. There, down to there. Oh, just hold there. Just have a look for yourself. Now there we are, up here today. Right. So the point is I'm trying to make is little Mr. Hominoid does a lot of research. This is what I want people to understand. I do research. Now,
bushland in northern New South Wales have been identified as those of missing Queensland woman Thea Little. The 42-year-old disappeared in October last year from the Tweed Shire in northern New South Wales. Police located skeletal remains in a search of bushland near Tallow Beach in Byron Bay earlier this month. Her family had reported her missing in January.
Right. Did you see the lounge? Did you see the shrubbery? Right, this is the whole point. Where they were, Tallows Beach, exactly where Theo disappeared. Now, everybody is trying to say the homeless people has something to do with Theo's death, and yet she was found 2 years ago, and Theo died 3 years ago. So how can the two cases be related? They're in the same place, but a year after Theo disappeared. Now there's another missing backpacker, but that's over in Perth. But there's me. I'm not good looking. Right, Coroner's Court. I listen to all this stuff. I read all this stuff. Right there. There's me. Now this is the whole point. This is where Theo goes in. This is what people don't realise. They're trying to conject stuff out of it. Where that rock is there. Now that news reporter, she said, did he roll up there, roll up over the rock and land in the water? And the oceanographer said, no, he had to be 2 metres above the water. Now on the GPS tracking, on the second story, which is the one I just played recently, with the lady from Channel 9 and the oceanographer, they're making out you're sitting there on top of the rock on his GPS. And they said he sat on the rock. Well, I ask a question. Were they there seeing him sit on the rock? No, they're speculating. Did they see him climb the rock face? No, they are speculating. You got to go by the facts. That's like it is. It's like a court of law. Now, why I talk like the way I do, and you're going to guess this, I've had a lot of legal work. Right. So, yes, I have QC barristers as best friends. So there's a little bit more about Mr. Hominoid a lot of people didn't know anything about. Right? That's his story here that I'm talking about when they're talking about Theo. Now let's have a look.
Beach into a clearing in the bushland. According to former Detective Gary Jubilan, this is yet another...
Guess how dark it is.
When you're there at night, you don't know. You don't see this little offshoot here.
Right, now let's clear that up a bit. See, what they've purposely done here, they've brightened all the picture up and they stuck this big thing here over the GPS tracking trail. So they stuck this big logo, whatever this radar looking thing. So here she is, here's a multi-millionairess, here she is. And now they're going to talk about why he went up here and then he tried to walk up the hill for 5 minutes and he come back. And you're going to agree with my answer.
Do you? No. To be able to see the place, we visit in daylight.
There's the rock.
There's the rocks over there where he disappeared.
Parties, which Gary believes could have been held
Right behind Gary Jubilan.
here.
This clearing area, as I understand, is an area where people gather, have parties, and as you can see, it's a perfect area.
But then, the GPS data tells us Theo went further, up into the bush, where he remained for 5 minutes.
He's gone up that incline there, which is rather steep, and you can imagine being here at night. I've had a look up there and there's thick bush like lantana. You can't get through it.
Local police.
Right. Now come on. Let's put a few facts together. 18-year-old boy. He's been down the pub. He's had 2 beers. He's been out all day. It's now 12 o'clock midnight on a Friday night, Saturday morning. Right? You all forget what you do several times a day. Anybody work out what I'm going to talk about? Right. So now, if he's walked up the beach, which I know I'll come back to. So if he's walked up the beach and sitting down over there, and he sees that people over here having a barbecue, which what people do up there because he shows the firewood. So there's Gary Jubilant, who is a formerly disgraced detective who done illegal recording of a pedophile case of a missing child, and it cost the man his job. He accused a guy of being a pedophile who was married, and the guy lost his business, his home, and everything else. And Gary Jubilant has now been sued, and the New South Wales Police have been sued, and the guy won the case because he illegally recorded this guy in a conversation. So, you've got a former police detective. That's why he's a former police detective. If he was so smart, why did he get the sack? Think about it. Now, he should have worked this one out. He said he's walked up here to where other people were and he was not alone. Right. Then he said he's walked up the hill there for 5 minutes. I walked up there and is surrounded by lantana, a prickly bush that come from England. Now, okay, Theo's up there. Picture this. He's 18 years old. He's had a few drinks. He's had a meal earlier on in the day. But he worked it out yet? So, right, he comes up there, he sees these people, and then Theo gets the urge. Huh? What, you say? The urge. He's got to go to the bathroom. Is he going to sit there right next door to people at a campfire up here above from the water and have a pee up against a tree? Yes, possibly would. I know I would, because I'm an old man. You just turn your back and it's Australian custom. You just go and pee over there in the bush. How many people have been out there in the bush and been out camping? Do you walk all the way back down there onto the beach and walk all the way right back down to the car park, half a kilometre away, to go and have a wee? No. You're a male. You go find a tree and you have a pee. Now, let's say he wants a number 2. Now, if you're not Australian and you don't speak English, a number 2 is a poop, defecation, doing a dump, as we say, excrement. That one. Right, okay. So where is he going to go? Well, think about it. Theo's 18 years old. He wants to go have a poop. He's not going to run down the water because the GPS tracking shows that he didn't run back down the water, then run back up again. It showed he come up to here and then he went up to the dead end for 5 minutes and he come back to here. Now, how long does it take you to sit on the toilet to do a number 2? Think about it. And he even said, quote, you had to go up the hill and you can't get out, it's full of lantana. And I lived up there, and that's what people do. They go up behind the back of the bushes, away from the other people, having their barbecues in the fire, drinking the alcohol, smoking their dope, or smoking their cigarettes, or eating their bit of food. Well, a lot of them don't eat food there because it's too far to drag it and you're going to get sand in it. So they bring up their alcohol and their tobacco and the happy gunja weed, marijuana, or whatever else you want to call it, or smoking ice, or whatever. We don't know. We weren't there. But we're not talking about that. We are talking about why did he leave where the fire was, where they're standing, and go up the hill to where the lantana was for 5 minutes and walk back down again. He went up there to go and have a shit, have a poop. And number two, think about it. It's 12:30 at night. How many people get out of bed 12:30 at night and go to the bathroom? Put your hand up. Come on, put your hand up. That's right. Your body does not know where you are, but your body gets into a routine. And if it knows that you are relaxed and you're not sitting on a train or driving down the highway, and as soon as you stop and get out of the car, what's the first thing you do when you pull up at a truck stop or a rest area? You go to the bathroom. So Theo, who's been walking along the beach, and then he's got up here, he's relaxed, and then his body says, time for number one and a number two. So Theo, doing the polite thing, goes up there and does his business. Very simple. There's nothing horrific about it. He's not trying to walk up the mountain. He can quite clearly see there's lantana. He said there's lantana. He's gone up there to have a poop. He's walked back down here, joined the other people. See you later. I had a good day. Then on the GPS, he's walked back down there and he sat down there at those rocks, which there it's high tide. So the water's in, right? There's the two rocks that you see at low tide. Let's come back to that. So that now gets rid of that mystery. Why was he up there for 5 minutes? Right? Number two. Now, where I'm about to come in, you see the loading on the thing that's chewing up. That's the lantana, by the way. Oh, no, that's just normal bush. Now he's going to talk to you about he's not stressing out, he is alone, and he's reading all his text messages and he's catching up on everything else.
Lost and It's clear he's not distressed. There's no indication of being lost or scared. No cry for help. He even starts to watch a favourite Belgian comedy show on YouTube. You know, we have the last words of Theo Hayez. The red is Theo.
Yeah.
At Cozy Corner. This is what he's saying and doing at this point.
What jumps out to me, it's almost like he's filling in some time. He's responding to old messages. He had a look on YouTube. He's got time to kill.
At 1:02 a.m, Theo was calmly sending what would be his final text message via WhatsApp to fellow backpacker and friend.
See those imposing, it looks like a mountain from here.
Now, that's my point exactly. They make out he's sitting on the rock in this episode. Now let's go back. So to you, it'd be a split second. It's going to probably take me half an hour. I'm going to find the previous story where Ken Gamble was talking to her in a studio and they showed the map where the GPS was. Now in this story, they showed the GPS, he's sitting on the rock. Right? So I'll come back to that.
Offshoot here, do you?
No.
To be able to see the place, we visit in daylight.
There's the rocks over there where he disappeared.
Let's watch it again. So there's Gary Jubilant. It's loading. There's the rock. See the rock? Viewed his hair. But see, you can't see on the TV. It's a tide low because it's white sand and it's glaring on the TV set on the camera on the previous video. Let's just hear again exactly what he said.
Parties, which Gary believes could have been held
Right behind Gary Jubilant.
here.
This clearing area, as I understand, is an area where people gather, have parties, and as you can see, it's a perfect area.
But then, the GPS data tells us Theo went further, up into the bush, where he remained for 5 minutes.
He's gone up that incline there, which is rather steep, and you can imagine being here at night. I've had a look up there and there's thick bush like lantana, you can't get through it.
Local police believe.
Now,
See, exactly again what I said. He's gone up there not to get away. He's gone up there to go and have a number two. He's a polite guy. He's an 18-year-old guy from Belgium. I mean, look at his parents. I mean, you know, polite, well-mannered. You don't think he's going to sit there in front of 5 people, 2 people, 1 other person and do a number 2 right next to him? He's going to walk up that little hill and get up there behind the lantana. See, this is another story.
Theo first arrived in Australia in November 2018, staying with his godfather in Melbourne before moving on to Sydney for the new year. In January 2019, he returned to Melbourne and worked at the Australian Open before starting farm work in regional Victoria. A month later, he headed off to travel. Theo first went to Tasmania.
Whoa. You didn't see that. I did.
The Australian Open before starting farm work in regional Victoria. A month later, he headed off.
That's the Three Sisters of Katoomba. That's not in Victoria. See, media misrepresentation. 1, 2, 3. There's a tourist taking a photo. That is the Jamison Valley. Now they're letting you think that's in Victoria. That's west of Sydney in New South Wales. See how the media mislead you?
To travel. Theo first went to Tasmania before going on road trips in the Northern Territory and heading to Queensland.
Right. Tasmania, Northern Territory, then to Queensland. So why did they show the Three Sisters of Katoomba in New South Wales? It's like showing me something in New York when I travel down the west coast of America. It's misleading. This is why you cannot believe the media.
By the end of May, Theo had travelled down the east coast and found himself in Byron Bay, a popular tourist spot on the New South Wales north coast.
Right. Now
But it was here that Theo
what's that again?
first went to Tasmania before going on road trips in the Northern Territory and heading to Queensland. But
Right. Tasmania, Northern Territory to Queensland. Not Sydney, New South Wales to the Three Sisters. Right, so he's in Queensland. Then he comes down to Byron Bay, right?
at the end of May, Theo had travelled down the east coast and found himself in Byron Bay, a popular tourist.
Right. Does that say it all? To exactly where that is. That is on the road as you come into Byron Bay, off the motorway, to the right there, those bushes. Back here behind it is the Byron Bay Hospital. And just down there on the left-hand side is a BP service station with the bananas in it and all the other fruits. Right? And there's a turn-off on a big roundabout. Just down around there, underneath that car there, is a roundabout. Right. This is how I'll just let you know how well I know this area.
Spot on the New South Wales north coast. But it was here that Theo's story
Right, that headland they just showed, that was not Byron Bay. I'm not even going to bother going with that. That is the Byron Bay Lighthouse.
took a dark turn. On May the 31st, 2019, Theo and a new friend were seen purchasing alcohol at a bottle shop. Later that evening, Theo, along with other...
Right. Hear the magic word? Seen purchasing alcohol at a bottle shop, then went to the restaurant, the Cheeky Monkey.
backpackers went to a local bar named Cheeky Monkeys. CCTV showed...
Right. This is where these media misrepresent everything about Theo. Now, there's the Cheeky Monkey. Right? That right there is the old Coles. That's the new Coles supermarket there, which used to be the old movie theatre. They knocked it down and they built the new Coles and several stories. That's the old condemned Coles. There's the car park. There's the bottle shop. Theo was in there. That is the only bottle shop between there to the Cheeky Monkey. That's where he was there. That's where he was. I bought many bottles of port there and a few beers and whatever. And Theo had to go all the way up here and then go up this way to get back to his hostel. That way. Right? Now, back here is the old railway line corridor. You don't see no shiny railway line, do you? See my point? Yeah. That's right. So why did they show that? Now, Theo, everybody gets this, they think he walked out here and walked up. No. Theo walked out here, turned left, then walked up here to this corner here. Now, on my video, where I refilmed at 12 o'clock at night, my second last video on Theo, there was a girl standing right there at the power pole. You can see her in the video. People around here don't care. They're laid back. They're friendly. It's like, a tropical island. Theo then walked up here. There's the concrete footpath going across the park. That's where his GPS went. Theo walked up here to these trees. Theo then heard the commotion of the homeless people and the drug addicts over there. So then Theo turned around and the GPS, actual fact, plotted him back on the other side of the road and coming back down. And then Theo, on the GPS that they showed, he walked across the middle of the park over here. Not on the footpath, because the GPS was out. And then when Theo come down across here, as soon as he got to there, the computer reset itself, went across like this, and then come this way, and showed him walking out the gate, because it knew that was a regular, reoccurring pickup point for mobile phones. When people walk out a gate, the satellites and the telephone towers pinpoint that one point. But they were out here on a parallel line, and then it goes, oh, correction, boom, right? And that's why on his thing there's a kink. Because I did satellite tracking with SigTech Australia for the New South Wales taxis. Back in 1997, I did SigTech and Raywood Communication for the GPS location of taxis in Sydney when they first installed them. And that's what a computer does. It corrects itself. It made out he went like that. He did not. He walked across here. There's the footpath. You can clearly see it. And then he walked up there at a regular, steady pace. Right? He was walking at a certain speed. Right. Does that answer it a bit more clearly now for people? So, Theo has come down here, gone to the bottle shop, had a drink, walked down here, gone in the Cheeky Monkey, had 2 beers, come out, went this way, and then went that way. Now, I also asked a question in my video, what is the alcohol content and the legal age to drink alcohol in Belgium? Now, a gentleman got back to me, and he said to me, and you can watch this while I go back through it, he said to me, over there in Belgium, this is the video it's on, it's got the picture of the van in it. And you will see the question. I asked the question, right? What is the alcohol content in Belgium? Right? Now that there was taken, that's not even at Byron Bay. I'll tell you that now. That is not Byron Bay. Because he stayed in the backpackers hostel up the road. Now, this is the one where I said 2 months ago, in a rent-a-car up there by myself. And I drove around there at 12:40 a.m, which is a little bit later than Theo, right? But compared to this one, people haven't caught on yet. That was during the day, right? So I went up there the same time he went for a walk. Now, the one I'm trying to find is the one where Miss Molly Magnate sits in there and she does her big 60 minutes story. This might be it here. Let's have a look.
This is the night. On a cold winter's night. This is the night.
Right down there.
On a cold winter's night 2 years ago, a young Belgian backpacker kicked out of a bus.
Right. Can you see it? Can you see where they mislead you? There's Theo. What's he doing? What's he doing? He's reading his map. And he's walked out of here, the cheeky monkey. So I said, he walked out the front door, he turned left, and he turned left. He is deliberately walking away from going back to the hostel. Let's have a look. Turn the volume down. Watch. Right, now that's an actor. Now, let's have a look here. So they go through all their garbage. Here's my mate. Remember I showed you the name King Gamble?
Absolutely.
That's Evan's head.
So what do we know about Theo Hayez? Well, according to family and friends, a level-headed young man on his dream trip to Australia, enjoying a 6-month backpacking holiday.
Right, now I said on my previous video, she's worth millions of dollars. Check out the suit. Check out the hair. Remember I said on the last video, the oceanographer? Told you, she's not broke.
Before starting an engineering degree at university in Brussels.
Follow the sun.
He travelled across the country, visited loved ones he hadn't seen in years. Finally arriving at Australia's celebrity haven, Byron
Same
Bay.
sign again.
Some of his journey
Right, now, right. Let's do that.
hadn't seen in years.
Right,
Finally
now,
arriving at Australia's celebrity
same
haven,
sign.
Byron Bay.
Now you said, okay, hominoid, what did you catch it there for? Do you really think he's going to climb up that? Eh? You really think he's going to climb up that? Look, do you really think he is going to climb up that cliff? Does it look like he can climb up that cliff? You'd have to be a vertical mountain goat. There is where the Byron Bay solar power train runs. Right there. Sorry, comes out. Let me get my bearings. Right, headland, come down there. North Beach, South Beach. That's the famous fish and chip shop down on the water at Byron Bay. Byron Bay solar power train stops there and then runs back out to there. Right? Just out to there. It's only 1 kilometre long. Theo is staying approximately right here. These units down here. So now Theo has walked all the way here into town, turned right and walked down over here to the Cheeky Monkey, down over the back streets over here, which you can't really see because it's over there down behind the hill. Then he's walked around through the back streets across the park and he's come out down the hill that side. But his phone later on walked around the bottom of the hill. And his phone walked right round to over here, to this beach, over that way. It was heading in that direction. Because down the bottom of that hill is no, sorry about that. Nothing breakable. Right, so I'm using a massive big TV set if you're wondering. Right, now let's have a look. Let's keep going. So, staying out here, he's travelled down to here, turn right, going down here to Cheeky Monkey. And he's cut across the park down here, and then he's coming down this southern side of this building on the wall that goes that way. He's down the bottom that way. That's where the beach is, Cozy Corner. It's not over there. It's not over there. It's not over there. It's down over there off the picture. Let's see if this picture moves over there.
Some of his journey was spent with his older cousin Lisa, who
never take big risks or anything. Always calculate the risk. He wasn't a big drinker and he never did drugs, and he always refused when he was offered.
JP, you obviously spent
Not a big drinker and never did drugs. Right, we got that much.
time with Theo.
Now I'm going to catch up here. Now they talk, the family talks. Here's Ken. There's the bottle shop I'm talking about. So he's got the 2 lanes coming in. You walk in, go buy your alcohol. Pay close attention. Theo is walking there next to the white line, and there's timber one here. So if you're going to be a regular watching me on this story, when I go to Byron Bay next, we are going to stand right here, and we're going to walk right out here where Theo went, and I'll show you which bottle shop. If I'm wrong in this video on that bottle shop, I'll then apologise, but I'm pretty sure that's the one. But then again, there is 5 bottle shops. Right, now they talk and they rave on. And I'm trying to cut this short.
18-year-old young girl that was put into that situation. There's really question about that. That it doesn't feel normal to me.
Yeah.
And what he was just talking about, what doesn't feel normal to him, why would they let an 18-year-old boy walk out of the Cheeky Monkey and it didn't feel right to him? Well, it's a lot of 18-year-olds hitchhike at 3 o'clock in the morning by themselves, boys and girls, try to hitchhike home from Byron Bay down to Suffolk Park, just down the road, because there's no public transport, there's no buses, and there's hardly any taxis because of the coronavirus. Well, before that, and plus, when there was taxis, they were all so busy because everybody gets in a taxi and says, oh, Byron Bay to Brunswick Heads, Byron Bay to Mullumbimby. That's a 25-minute drive. So it takes the driver an hour to get back. So you take one taxi away there for an hour, then you send another taxi from Byron Bay down to Suffolk Park, then you take another taxi up to Mount St Helena, then you take another taxi that goes up there to Sunrise, right? It all takes the taxis out of town. So people just give up and they're too drunk and they can't afford a taxi. Now, here's Ken Gamble. This is the guy I know.
Ken Gamble, when you look at Theo walking along the street, what do you observe?
Well, the most obvious thing is that he's on his phone immediately, looking up his directions. And we know from the history that he searched Wake Up. He was actually searching to go to his hostel, but he was walking in the opposite direction.
My point is, he doesn't look drunk. He doesn't appear to be staggering. Or...
No, he didn't appear to be intoxicated at all.
And your view? No?
Absolutely, he has a normal stride pattern and he's walking with purpose,
But connected to that phone.
glued to it.
Within moments of CCTV capturing him, Theo walks out of frame and disappears.
Right. So let's sum it up. He knows where his wake up backpackers is, where I showed you, up the northern beach, northern end of North Beach, right? Right up there, up past the solar powered train, up that way. Right, so, or up towards the solar powered train, right? Up there, Kennedy, starts with a K, Kendall Street. There you go, how's that from memory? He's got to walk up Kendall Street, over the railway line, Kendall, Kendall Street, to go back. So why is he walking the wrong directions? Because he's been talking to people about Cozy Corner. And like they all backpackers, they tell everybody, go down to Cozy Corner. They have a bonfire and everybody sits down there and talks and has a drink. Now, the guy from Belgium told me, over in Belgium, you can be 16 years of age and drink alcohol. He's 18. He's already had 2 years experience of drinking alcohol. Also, the alcohol level content is much higher than the Australian alcohol. So therefore then, why, and that is why he's not drunk. He is drinking weaker strength alcoholic beer. Weaker than what he's used to since he's been 16. Secondly, he's only had 2. So it's equivalent to having 1 at home. Think about it. And then he's walking away. And it takes him 40 odd minutes, whatever, to get up there. Or an hour, right? Oh, an hour, that's right. Was it 11:08 and he got up there at 12:08 or something like that, 11:15 to 12, right? So he's got an hour. Right, so let's now continue on.
6 days and no one notices.
Now they're talking about why nobody noticed him missing and all this. All that's got nothing to do with the facts. That's irrelevant in the point of working out what actually happened to Theo. We want to see where Theo went, right? It's not about how long and what they didn't realise and why didn't somebody ring up or why didn't do something else. No, the reason is how and why he disappeared. That's the question we are all asking.
At odds with the belief held by police that Theo is not only lost, but he's alone. The belief that Theo may have been with someone is
Sorry about that,
a
ad
critical
breaking.
new clue in the case. And at odds with the belief held by police that Theo is not only lost, but he's alone. Theo's mobile data, information Ken Gamble has offered to share with police.
Ha ha ha. Can you see it? There's the Byron Bay solar power train, right? That's the old railway line. That's where it stops there. That's where he comes from, down there. And that's where he should have went if he walked out there, down here, past the ranger station, out here to Telos Beach, to the car park, there's the P, car park, and then walk up here. But he didn't walk that way. Get it right. This is what he could have walked if he walked directly from his hostel. That's what he was reading on his map. But he didn't. He was down here. Middleton Street. Tennyson Street. It's right there. You can see on the picture the white line just underneath the O comes to a dead end. That's the gap there on Tennyson Street. There's the sports field. And that's there where you then come across. See? Look for yourself. Tennyson Street. You can see Tennyson. That's where he walked up. He did not walk that way. They're just showing what his phone said, as if he was at the hostel. So he's had that on his phone when he left the hostel. He's typed in on his phone at the hostel, I want to go to Cozy Corner. And that's what's on his phone record. That's why it's there. He did that before he went to the cheeky monkey. Let's see if I'm wrong.
Leads our investigators to believe someone has led Theo to the dark and out-of-the-way recreation ground.
Nah. You see how that's wrong? He just showed he was looking at the map as he walked out of the cheeky monkey, and he had that blue line up the top on his map on his phone, and he said, oh, there I am down here. If I walk over here, I can walk up there, and then I can join up there with those blue dots, and I'll go that way. You see what I'm trying to say?
When you go there at night, it's not a really inviting place. To the contrary, it looks a
Yes, and that's right, because they're making it look
didn't stumble
mystical.
across it by himself.
But whatever is coming,
And you're confident that he is in possession of his phone?
At that point, I believe so.
he seems to have no idea.
He's relaxed, not trying to get out of a situation that he's got himself into by circumstance.
That's next on Under Investigation.
Right, so he is relaxed. He's not under stress. Right, because what he's done, well, let's find the park. See, now here they all are. They're up there, they're searching.
Disappearance.
We are baffled.
No trace of him was ever found. But local volunteers who continued looking discover Theo's cap along the...
That's right, they found his cap down there along the beach. Now, let's just find a bit on the TV here, which is the one I want to show you, of the actual track that he actually took. See this thing he comes up with it. Where is it? I think it's right in the very end. And also, right, hang on, what's this bit?
Ken, this, in your opinion, wasn't...
Hang on, what was that?
that Theo had fallen victim to local drug dealers whose motive may have been...
Now, this is this bit here. This come from an anonymous tip to Theo Hayez's family, sent in anonymously. It's a tip. It is not a fact.
early hours of June 1st, 2019. But added to their investigation is an extraordinary lead that came from the Hayez family's website, set up to receive information from the public. An anonymous tip suggested that Theo had fallen victim to local drug dealers, whose motive may have been theft or worse.
Right, now let's read what this said. Mobile phones, leaving cheeky monkey, girl, another man with him. Hello, can we just rewind my video? Can you just... Did he walk out there by himself? You see what people do, right? They give misleading information. They speculate. We deal in facts. Mr. Hominoid deals in facts. Look, leaving cheeky monkeys, girl and other man with him. No, because then why didn't the police see the other guy and the girl 10 seconds, 15 seconds behind him? Why didn't they show that footage? Why did they just show him? Why didn't they say, we want to talk to these two people? Because they didn't exist. It's misleading information. That is the problem when you set up these information things to the family, by the family, for the family. These people send in these lies. They make up stories. They want attention. They get a kick out of it. It's sick.
Ken, this, in your opinion, was an important piece of information.
It was a very important piece of information. One of the pieces of information was that Theo's belongings had been taken from Tallow Beach and dumped in an abandoned house in Nimbin.
Ken Gamble reported the information to police, which led them to that abandoned house in Nimbin, 70 kilometres from Byron Bay.
Right. So Ken Gamble gets the information. He drives 70 kilometres over to Nimbin. Go down to my channel. Mr. Hominoid was in Nimbin. I've been to Nimbin. I know where that house is. There was nothing there of Theo's. Nothing. There was nothing there. But they did find the passport, a letter from the woman that died a year later, whose body was found also at Cozy Corner up there in the bushes, but that was not exactly where Theo was. It was several hundred yards back down the beach. Cozy Corner is not 100 metres long. Cozy Corner is several hundred metres long and several hundred metres deep on a triangle. So you got the beach down to the car park, and it comes around a triangle around the rock face. So she was squatting over the back over here. Theo come up this way, went in, had a poop, come out, and then went in there for a swim. Theo never went up to where her body was found, which was up here. Let's say that's an imaginary map of Byron Bay, not the house, right? So Theo's come along the beach. He's gone blip, blip, there. And then his phone's walked around the headland 12 hours later, right? That's in this story. That's what we're going to find.
Had been taken from Tallow Beach and dumped in an abandoned house in Nimbin.
Ken Gamble reported the information to police, which led them to that abandoned house in Nimbin, 70 kilometres from Byron Bay.
So we then went to Nimbin, we tracked down an abandoned house. There was only one in town. When we got into that house, we were astounded to find 3 suitcases full of belongings scattered all over the lounge room.
Incredibly, those personal effects belonged not to Theo, but to a missing woman called Thea Little. Incredibly, those personal effects belonged not to Theo, but to a missing woman called Thea Little.
Now that's a fact.
A 42-year-old who disappeared from Byron Bay 6 months after Theo and whose remains were found by police in July last year. Our investigators believe the cases are linked.
There's more.
No, they're not linked. They're not linked at all, because Theo was not under any stress. Theo was sitting down on the beach, not up there in this area. This area here is nowhere there near the beach. Look at the terrain. Where's the ocean? Can you see the ocean? There's trees over there beyond the other trees, and then that beach over there.
More than just a coincidence. There's too much, evidence pointing towards there being a lot.
He is not Ken Gamble. He's a police psychiatrist.
A lot of similarities in this, and you can never have enough avenues of inquiry. We've been talking about the digital app.
Now, did you read the look on Ken's face? Let's have a look again. You look at the way how he's looking at him, and he's still like saying to what I'm reading is, no mate, you got it wrong. This is 18 months later. This is 6 months later. How can they be related? Right? Those drug addicts have been moved on.
Coincidence. There's too much, evidence pointing towards there being a lot of similarities in this, and
similarities.
You can never have enough avenues of inquiry. We've been talking about the digital avenues of inquiry, which have been missed by law enforcement. This is a physical avenue of inquiry which appears to have been missed, and one that should have been grabbed with both hands.
Do you want to?
Have the police spoken to you about this?
No, it's all.
Let's see who this guy is again.
Physical avenue of inquiry which appears to have been missed. And you can never have enough avenues of inquiry. We've been talking about the digital avenues of inquiry which have been missed.